right, welcome. This is the ELEET Review Podcast. We have Han Talks First back on here. We brought him on before. He's a wonderful guest to bring on. So we wanted to talk Obi-Wan with him since the show has just wrapped up. We want to just kind of talk about our thoughts and what we thought about the show. And we'll just go ahead and kind of dive right into it. I was just thinking we'll kind of start with maybe what we liked. We'll keep it kind of positive at first. And then obviously I think we all have things we probably all disliked in the show. So since you're our guest, Han, I mean, do you just want to kind of generalize what you maybe thought about the show and what you thought was good about it so far?
Sure. Well, I will say, probably my biggest critique of this show was the lack of focus. As we all know, and the whole general public knows, this show was premised and pitched as the showdown of the century, right? That is how they promoted this show. And to me, that's not really a strong enough premise for a TV series, especially a limited series. Because the question is, okay, that's nice, but what is this show about? And there was tons of things it could have been about. There was tons of things they tried to do. But for me, it lacked focus on the character study of Kenobi. There's a lot going on in his head at this time period. And it was also too short for me. If you're going to do a series, do a series, really stretch that thing out. But this felt like it could have been a movie. Now, I did enjoy it. I found it entertaining. There were some moments, like episode 4, which we just talked about before we went live, that was a huge waste of time. Right. But it was entertaining nonetheless. That's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Aiden? What did you kind of think of the show so far in general?
So I'll just kind of start out so the things I kind of liked is, I don't know. I think whenever they did do the Vader and Obi-Wan stuff, I did think it was really cool. Obviously I don't think that they spent that much time doing it, but I think in episode 3 was a perfect example of where I wish that the show kind of kept going from there. Instead of taking the turn on episode 4 with Leia and Riva. I also just want to mention I like all the moments when you see that Obi-Wan can tell that Vader's there. It zooms in on Ewan McGregor's face. I think all that's really cool. I do think that the show is a bit underwhelming. For talking general thoughts, I don't know. I feel like it could have been longer, and it could have been a lot of this stuff could have been cut out. I feel like the whole Riva story could have just been almost gone unless they would just do it better. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that was all pretty close to what I feel. I just feel I guess the things we expected were mostly pretty good. It just kind of felt like everything else besides what we expected just didn't do anything impressive. So just the writing was very weird for me in this show. I think the moments that had to happen, such as kind of Vader and Obi-Wan rematching for the first time, or him discovering him, or seeing that there's Leia and seeing that Obi-Wan's on Tatooine watching over Luke, all those things were obvious things that had to happen, and they did those pretty well, I would say. But then it's just coming up with an actual story to happen throughout the 6 episodes. I just felt they didn't really know what to do to make it interesting enough for me to care about it. And like episode 4 there, it's just kind of a waste of time. I think it started off really strong. It was really cool to see kind of back in the, Order 66 happening, and kind of where Obi-Wan was at in his life. You could easily tell he's having a really hard time where things have gone since that time period. And that was really cool. I enjoyed just kind of seeing the basic stuff of him just dealing with that and seeing Inquisitors show up and looking all over the place. I think it was really solid first 2 episodes there. And then episode 3, it was really cool to see obviously Vader have kind of that little rematch with Obi-Wan. But then it's the way it was executed, I thought was just kind of not as great as I wanted. A lot of those little things that just make you question why, and you just feel not solid writing. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I just felt all over the place with the show, where just really good moments all the time happening, probably almost every episode. But then it's all the little in between things just to keep the narrative going for the whole 40, 50 minutes, however long each episode was. Just felt I don't know. A lot of the dialogue too is sometimes cool, but then sometimes it was so Like you could just tell that's on a script and someone wrote it very simply. And I don't know. So yeah, I just got such mixed feelings with the show. It was really, really tough. And I think that's where the big problem lies, is that everyone feels pretty mixed on this show. I think I really haven't met anybody that's like fully loves this show with all their heart. And I also haven't really seen anybody fully hate it. So I just think it's like everybody wanted to really love this show and almost have it be a perfect show, which I really wanted because I was so hyped for this show. And the fact that I still think I would say The Mandalorian has been a better show, kind of weird for me because I wanted this to be a lot better than Mando. And I feel like it's not written as well as Mando.
No.
And I think a part of that is how Disney approached, or not Disney. Well, maybe Disney. Disney approached it. Disney's the financier, right? Lucasfilm makes it, but Disney's giving them the money. So I don't think that when Lucasfilm was pitching the idea 7 years ago, by the way, which was originally developed as a movie.
I didn't know that. 7 years ago. Wow. Okay.
This has been in development since essentially Disney bought Star Wars Lucasfilm.
Wow.
Maybe 1 or 2 years after The Force Awakens was started. So around 2016. Or 2015, excuse me.
Crazy.
So I think what happened was there was a complete lack of awareness as to what this show could do for the fan base, for the streaming service. Because let's face it, they didn't want to make a movie after the Solo Star Wars story happened. So it was nixed. And then they went into television development because they had a streamer coming up and they need content. Yeah. So I think they gave them a lesser budget than they deserved. And it shows. I mean, Mandalorian looks significantly better, as it should. It's been 2 seasons, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have a legacy character. It's going to bring in all those prequel people that you haven't brought in yet for the streamer. And it's also Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, both great actors in their own respect.
Right.
And I just don't think they understood what they had on their hands. And it's proven because when it dropped, it was it had the most highest ratings or viewership than anything on Disney Plus as a premiere. Yeah. So they had no idea what they had. And they gave it a less budget because of it. It shows sometimes. And
it does.
I think that if you're going to do Star Wars, do Star Wars, like go all in 100%,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And what made it worse is I know Deborah Chow was obviously a big part of the show, right? I'm not sure if she was the showrunner or just directed a lot of episodes, but that had me really hyped when I'd heard that because I love the Mando episode she did. They were some of my favorites of the show. So it's still weird for me that a lot of those episodes just didn't hit when she was a big part of the show. And then it got me thinking I don't know. I don't know if John or Dave I don't think they played any role in this show, but I don't know if they're just essential to be part of these shows, if they should really just be the ones doing every single show. I don't know. Maybe that would work,
So I actually have a theory. Some of it is based on actual real information, and some of it is just my own speculation. What I do know is John and Dave were involved with the development of the show about maybe 2.5 years ago, or roughly the same time Mandalorian was being released, which was 2019, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And what they had been brought in to give a consulting approach to the project, and what they viewed was that, hey, this is really too similar to season 1 of The Mandalorian, as far as an older person taking care of a younger, Baby Yoda, Leia, that comparison, Mando to Obi-Wan. Yeah. So they said, we would suggest you guys change it up a little bit. And I think that affected the story a little bit more because let's face it, what they've been doing with these shows. I mean, if you look at Bad Batch, it's older gentleman with the young kid. If you look at Mandalorian, it's older gentleman with a young Baby Yoda. Obi-Wan, older gentleman with a young baby girl or child. So it's there's some kind of formula that they think they need to address. And this gets into my speculation. So I thought the first episode was incredible. There were some bad parts, the chase scene, which everyone complains about. But I thought the tone and overall filmmaking of that first episode was leagues ahead of any of the other predecessor episodes. I think Jon Favreau helped out with episode 1. And then after that, he was like, Deborah, you're on your own now. Like, do your thing. And I think it shows, because immediately after episode 1, 2 felt a little different. 3 felt like a whole new director. And then 4 was like, okay, guys, what are we doing? Right? So 100%. I think there may have been some assistance from Favreau, maybe Filoni for a little bit, but I'm not too sure on that.
Yeah. So what do you think of the fact if we were to have John and Dave like consult every single show? Like, do you think they should play a role that big, or do you think it's like we could still trust other writers and people to make these shows good? Because I mean, so far John and Dave have really done amazing things. So I always wonder that question.
So we do know that Filoni is what is he, the creative executive? So he's definitely involved with everything on a development level. As far as Favreau, he's a creator. You know, he wants to create. I think he's focused on mostly Mandalorian, because if you look at Boba Fett, that was advertised as the creators of the Mandalorian, right? Yeah. Well, Favreau came in and then found Robert Rodriguez and was like, okay, can you take this over for me so I can go back and work on Mando season 3? And Boba Fett, I thought, was also very lackluster in comparison to Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
So I think what he's trying to do is shepherd in other filmmakers. Yeah. He'll kind of, consult from time to time, but his baby right now is definitely Mando.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a good thing that, he's going to try and bring in people to do this, because people deserve the opportunity. But I don't know. I would dig to see like Bryce Dallas Howard do a show or something. I think that would be really dope, because she's done some really good Mando episodes. She's a good director. So yeah, I mean, that's interesting stuff. But let's kind of talk about maybe your favorite, worst, and what we think was the worst episodes. Maybe we'll all have the same answer, but maybe just tell us why you think that's the worst and why it's the best episode. But you can start with that, Han.
Well, should we all say it together? Episode 4. That was the worst one.
We can all agree.
It was.
That episode was so. It had my biggest issue, I guess, was it was a pragmatic narrative issue. There was a lot of logic problems, things that didn't make sense. Nothing moved the story forward, I thought. The scenes between Reva and Leia was so tough to get through, and it was so long. We cut back to that like 6 or 7 times. And then also it was very inconsequential. Obi-Wan breaks into this impenetrable fortress, no issue.
No issue.
And that's what bugged me too so much was they kept hyping this Inquisitorius as this deadly place. No one can go there. It's no man's land, right? Mm-hmm. Yet they get in, no problem. They can hack in to the system, no problem. They can fly away, no problem. And one little tiny blaster bolt was able to break the glass so that it could be flooded, almost destroying the entire base. It's like, guys, what are you doing? What is this? And it was, it could have been really cool. Yeah. But to me, it was that was a frustrating one to get through.
Super.
What about you guys?
Hayden, was episode 4 your least favorite too?
And honestly, I think when I first watched the episode, I was like, yeah, it was all right. But I think the more it sat with me and the more I thought about it, I was like, that was not very good. I don't think anything will bug me as much as him just being able to walk out with Leia like under his jacket at the end.
That was hard to watch.
I'm like, what? That's like the most obvious thing you could possibly do. And then just a lot of like how the ships just show up like right at the right time. Things like that. I think that like throughout the show there was like a lot of like logic issues with things like this happening, but I think in this episode it might be kind of the worst, or just things like when Obi-Wan gets out of the water, like he's not wet at all. He's dry completely.
And he just knocked out a stormtrooper take his armor. You're trying to be sneaky. Why would you walk around in your Jedi robes? Grab his armor, dude.
Yeah.
If you want to do like a little thing from like A New Hope, then you could do that.
You could do that.
Yeah.
And then I agree. Like the Reva scenes with Leia. I think throughout the whole show, it's hard for me to watch like Reva, honestly. But I think it was especially bad in this episode. The dialogue was very poor. I did like seeing Obi-Wan finally using his lightsaber a little bit. That was kind of cool. And I like some of the stuff at the end that happened, but for the most part, this episode was just very boring. And it seems like the only thing that really changed by the end was that they had a tracker on them. But besides that, it feels like nothing really happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have pulled up the IMDb, and what's interesting about episode 4 is that episode was the only one written by a different writer, a staff writer. So they brought in someone else. Her name is Hannah Friedman, which, not trying to hate on you, Hannah, anyway. But I think what may have been a part of the issue is that she wasn't involved with the entire process, came in for this episode. Maybe it was like a scheduling issue with the writing team, but I think it made a difference. It felt completely different. And then that also ties into episode 5 and 6. Those felt a little standalone, like their own tone as well. And those were written by what's his name? Something Stanton. Everyone know Andrew Stanton. So he wrote the last 2, and I think those were the best written ones. He's the writer of Finding Nemo, the Toy Story movies, anything Pixar. Like, he's a great writer.
Wow.
And especially in the final duel between Vader and Obi-Wan, their conversation was amazing.
It was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. For me, episode 4 was definitely the worst. I think one thing that really did bug me was when they do get saved, and then that whoever's in that ship gets killed or whatever, and they try to make it very emotional. And it's like, we haven't even... Wade. Yeah, Wade. It's like, I don't know who Wade is. Like, why would I care to have this moment where he gets killed? Like, it's probably expected that he's going to get killed because, like, you got all these ships right here that are about to blow you guys up. Like, I don't know. It's just things like that.
So glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it was really frustrating.
When you're editing this, put up a picture of the woman that was mourning him. I was laughing. It was so poorly done. She walks in with this complete deadpan face, and the camera's like on her for like, it feels like 2 minutes. And she's just looking at the camera like, I was like, who are these people? I don't care. What are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
Wade.
Yeah, episode 4 just had sloppy writing, man. I think that's what it is. It's like lazy writing. It's just like someone's just not putting in the time to just like make something interesting out of an episode, make something fun, make something like that. It's kind of like, let's rush through these things and not really focus on why it's happening or how this should make sense to anybody. So let's just get to the moments. Like Leia's interrogated, Obi-Wan breaks in, gets her out. It was a frustrating episode. I also got really frustrated by the point where like Obi-Wan's looking at all these, Jedi that are frozen or whatever, those little capsules. And it's like Leia's, meanwhile, being like interrogated and all this stuff. And he can sense that. And he's still just walking and stuff. And I'm like, why aren't you urging getting through this? Like, you can run, kind of look around a little bit, be a little shook. But he's slowly walking, looking at everything. And I thought he would just be in urgent panic mode to get Leia out of there.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about Reva, and maybe we should have a little more of a discussion on her, because I think there's a lot on her, and I don't hate on her at all. Like, I know a lot of people give the actress crap or something, which is dumb to me. But I honestly will say too, by the final episode, I did start to like Reva a little more. I actually kind of like what happened with her by the very end of that episode. But all before that, in episode 5 too, by the way, I thought she was pretty good in episode 5 with what happened with her and Vader. I do kind of wish she would have just died there, in my opinion. But I do 100%. Think this show, and especially episode 4, just like focused on her way too much.
Oh yeah.
To the point where I just didn't get the importance of it. I know they wanted to lead up to this moment of her being a former youngling and all this stuff. I still thought she got way too much screen time and things like that I just like did not care about.
No.
How did you guys feel about Reva? Like, what about you, Han?
So I think, I really thought there was promise for the character in episode 1, especially with the hierarchy of her other Inquisitors, Grand Inquisitor, Darth Vader. It was an interesting dynamic and something that they could have played into. But ultimately, I think the character of Reva was a complete waste of time. And again, this goes into the focus of the show. Reva would have been a great character if she was the only villain, the only antagonist. But what they had, the main antagonist was Darth Vader.
Right.
So it's like, why are we focusing so much on this Reva person when you're also trying to pronounce the threat of Darth Vader? It's just trying to get the focus right. And then Grand Inquisitor comes back. It's like, okay, what is our main antagonist here? What is the goal? And I think Reva would have worked a lot better if the show was like Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Reva. Darth Vader wasn't in it at all. I'm not saying that's what I wanted. Hell no. But this show could have served better. It was only Vader, maybe the Grand Inquisitor, or even Reva too. But the focus should have been, and always should have been, Obi-Wan versus Vader, where they are at this point in their life. And, I think Moses Ingram is a great actress too, but I thought her performance here was incredibly bad. And it's subject to the writing and also the directing. I don't think the filmmakers knew how they wanted to approach this character. So focus for me.
Yeah. What about you, Aiden? What did you think of Reva?
I don't know. I think that I don't know why the writing for her was so bad with their dialogue and stuff, because I feel like for other characters it was all right the most time. I feel like if she was maybe in like a different show or something, or maybe even in like a solo show or something, I don't know. I feel like she could be done a lot better than in this show.
Right.
And it almost feels like they just wanted to spend tons of time on her making her character development good, which doesn't really happen. I think by episode 5, I think it's interesting what they're doing with her. I thought all that was cool. I also think that she should have died right there. I think Vader should have killed her. I think in episode 6, I didn't really love the whole plot with her and Luke. Because I feel like almost like going to Luke is like kind of going too close to A New Hope. Because
for sure, absolutely right.
Yeah, in like Luke in A New Hope, like he doesn't know anything about like the Empire or any of that stuff. This would be a night he'd remember for the rest of his life. I think that this whole plot here just didn't really work for me very well. I think maybe if she just like tried to kill Leia or something, it would have worked better. But I think we also we got too much of her and Leia already, so I don't know. I think they should have just killed her.
Yeah.
I don't know why Darth Vader put up with her for so long. She was so reckless from the very beginning. She always just wanted to kill everyone for some reason. Well,
Aiden, you actually mentioned something pretty interesting. Ken, you did too. You both mentioned about how she should have died at the moment she was stabbed by Vader. Well, this brings up a very relevant, very important issue that I have with Star Wars at the moment. No one can die.
No.
No one can die anymore. There's no more stakes. There's no more risk.
Just get in a bacta tank and you're good.
And that's bacta tanks are for healing, not for reviving. Okay. And I mean, Boba Fett did it too. How much that Cobb Vanth guy got shot and then he's okay. Boba Fett, and they've done it in Mandalorian. They're overusing the bacta tank. The bacta tank is not a scapegoat. It's not a way for you to, fix issues. People have to die. I mean, it sounds bad to say, but there has to be stakes. There has to be emotional moments. And at this point, I feel like anything I watch going forward, I'm just like, I'm not emotionally attached because I'm like, oh, well, they could just hop in a bacta tank, head chopped off. Who cares? Go in the bacta tank. It'll heal you. It's like,
And force healing's introduced now too, so
Yeah.
that's something else too.
Lots of that in the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
No,
We had like 4 fake out deaths in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, no, for sure. As far as my feelings with Reva, I'm going to tell you what I think their biggest problem is with her. And I think it was, they almost write her to be someone that you want to hate on. And that's always a good thing, but you have to kind of do it correctly. Where almost like, I don't know, like I guess you sympathize with them, or like they're so evil that it's cool how much you hate them. And she wasn't quite that way. It was more turned into like someone who you're kind of just annoyed by, someone who kind of just seems really, I don't know, like annoying. And that's rough and that's probably why she gets a lot of hate, because people start turning it into like, oh, I really get annoyed by this girl, this actress, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of frustrating that the character is that way. And I feel like it's very similar to how Rose was done, because I wouldn't say she's a bad actress or anything like that. But they write her in this way that you get annoyed by her, and you're kind of like, she's this whiny person, you know, like that annoys me. And I feel like that's just the wrong way to write these female characters. And I feel like it's already a hard world for them to be in this universe of Star Wars because of how the fan base already is. So the minute you start doing that and making them kind of just these annoying, whiny people, it just kind of ruins the characters. And it's unfortunate that they can't get like a really good spotlight and really good moments in the show.
Yeah. And it's like, if you like, they want to be inclusive and bring in different cultured people, people of color, women, things like that, which is great. Yeah. But why are they not focusing on also giving them good stories and good writing? You would think, hey, we're going to bring in this upcoming, pretty well-known actress, Moses Ingram, you know, give her a spotlight, give a new character to Star Wars, but we're just going to, write whatever. But it's okay because we've got, a person of color. So it's, again, it's not her fault. It's like, if you're going to be inclusive, treat everything with importance, every character. And that's what bugs me too. Because like you said, with Kelly Marie Tran, I thought she was absolutely awful in The Last Jedi. And I thought, oh my God, this why is she in this movie? She's a bad actress. But then The Rise of Skywalker came out. She had way less to do, but she was directed better. And she didn't annoy me. And it was like, okay, you finally got her a little bit better director, but she's only in the film for like a minute. So it's like, what are they doing? What is the plan? It frustrates me.
It's frustrating for sure. Let's go ahead and talk about favorite episodes. I'm not sure if we all have the same favorite episode. I mean, for me, it's the finale. But do you guys have different favorite episodes?
Number one.
Here's number one. Okay. So why is number one your favorite?
Well, I think it might be because of the environment I was in at the time. I went to the celebration.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
So was that fun?
It was a blast. It was my first one.
That's so cool.
Met so many people. And I think part of being in that ecosystem of Star Wars fans and everyone there is positive and having a good time. Mm-hmm. And then Kenobi dropped that night, and then we all got to talk about it the next morning. I think that affected my viewing experience. Yeah. But to me, it was such a good start to the show. I mean, the way they introduced Obi-Wan, the way they introduced the world setting at that time, like where things were. Mm-hmm. And that last shot when he's walking away and he tucks his robe back and you see the lightsaber, I was like, But then it kind of went downhill. I will say the last episode, the fight was probably on the same level for me, but just the fight scene between Vader and Obi-Wan. But yeah, I think number one's my favorite.
That's pretty valid. That's a pretty good episode. What about you, Eden?
It's like I almost want to say the final, but I feel like when I was watching the final, the only thing I was like really invested in was Vader and Obi-Wan. Yeah. And it almost felt like that was like not towards the end of the episode. It didn't feel like the very last duel at the end. It kind of happened closer to the beginning. So I did really like that whole scene. I thought it was awesome, but I don't think I could say the final's my favorite. I think it's hard for me because I kind of pieced together different parts of different episodes that I really love.
Yeah.
'Cause, I really love episode 5. I thought like the Vader stuff at the end was really cool.
Right.
Yeah, I could probably say episode 5 is my favorite.
Solid one.
Yeah, that's a solid one, and I don't think it has a few logical issues, like why didn't she just cut open the door from the beginning instead of just shoot at it? Like, it has stuff like that, but I think it was cool when Vader came out, and I thought it was, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it, but that might be my favorite. And then episode 3 also was really cool when Vader came and he's just like walking through the town and just like cracking people's necks and stuff. That scene was awesome. I think
what you're getting at, Aiden, is that Vader was done justice in this show.
Yeah,
he really did well.
The best part.
He was. Yeah, they did
a great job. And if they had focused as much attention as they did on Vader to characters like Reva, this would have been a great show. You know?
Yeah. I guess that is what I'm getting. And yeah, so kind of those 3 episodes, I think, were the best, probably.
Cool. That's valid. Yeah, I would say episode 5 was my favorite before episode 6. And I think I only say episode 6 was my favorite because I just felt the most satisfied with that episode. Because it did wrap up the things I wanted to see wrapped up. I will agree. The whole Reva Luke stuff, I don't know. It's pretty annoying. I agree with you with how it kind of feels like with the canon, they're really treading on some thin ice there. So yeah, but like I said, I did like the moment when she does come back carrying him and Obi-Wan's like, you have a choice to become someone better now. I think that's really cool for Obi-Wan's character to see that happen. And I think that could lead to some cool things for her if we see her again. And then, obviously the fight was amazing. Like that's what I was waiting for. And it was so cool. Every moment. And then, like we were talking about earlier, like the dialogue there between them, once Obi-Wan cuts his mask off and you see half his face, it was genius to show kind of makes Hayden Christensen with the other voice there and just saying I killed Anakin, not you. And Ewan's acting there I thought was phenomenal. Like when he says he's sorry for everything. And just when he kind of realizes this guy is completely gone, he's tearing up. I don't know. I just bought it so well. I just thought it was so good.
That was really good.
And seeing Obi-Wan just kind of wreck him, just getting all those rocks up in the air and just slamming him with rocks and doing that lunge and everything. I don't know. It's cool to see Obi-Wan just be so OP. That's the coolest I've seen Obi-Wan fight. Yeah. Even more than Revenge of the Sith, which is saying something because I loved how they fight in that too. But seeing Obi-Wan just go ham like that was cool.
So I don't want to yuck on your yum, but I did enjoy that fight. I really did. I thought it was very well crafted, well written, all that kind of stuff. But I did have, again, another logic issue. If you look at the timeline of the show, it's roughly takes place over 2 or 3 days, right? That's how long this story is.
Yeah, true.
Well, literally a day ago, Obi-Wan was struggling to punch people.
You're very right.
And now he's able to lift mountains behind him. And it's how did this happen? Qui-Gon should have been introduced before and awoken the Force in him again. Kind of like an enlightening experience. But there was no journey for him getting back to where he was.
And I think when Darth Vader did crush him under all those rocks, I thought that would have been a great time to even just hear Qui-Gon's voice.
Yes, that's when I thought it would happen. Yeah, that's what I thought
was gonna happen. But no.
Yeah, no, you're totally right there. And I was thinking that too, when Obi-Wan was being OP, I was I don't really know how he got here. He didn't even go through a training montage or anything showing that he worked on it. So I kind of just chose to be it's a cool fight, but logically, it's still, that's more of the lazy writing there, and they didn't show that. But I still did love Qui-Gon showing up. I still thought it was a cool moment to show him at that time because he was I've kind of been here all along and let's continue with the journey. I thought that was cool. And I'm glad he showed up because I thought for a second he was not going to show up in the episode. And I was why did you tease him so hard if he's not going to show up?
I kind of forgot about it until he showed up, honestly.
Yeah, Liam Neeson fooled us all, of course. We can't trust any actor anymore because, they're always going to show up. Just plan on them showing up, honestly. Yeah. They're not, they're showing up. So yeah, that's where I felt satisfied with it. And obviously we got a hello there from Obi-Wan, which I was waiting all the freaking show for that.
Oh, I know.
So, I love that.
I did.
Went up to Luke and said that.
I'm glad that they didn't do a full meet for Luke because that's supposed to be kind of saved until A New Hope, and I was nervous that they would have
Right.
But I thought the way they did it was all right.
yeah, so I just felt a lot of satisfaction with that episode. And when he says goodbye to Leia too, and they play her theme song, and the things he says to her really hit me hard. I just love how he tells her like she has these great qualities of both their parents. Thought that was cool.
when he arrived on Alderaan to see Leia and say goodbye, and he walks out of the ship and she looks at him, but then Lola flies behind him and she's like, Lola, like totally forgets about Obi-Wan. I laughed so hard. I was like, oh, it was cold, Leia.
That was funny. Yeah. So yeah, I like that episode. But let's go ahead and we can wrap up here pretty quick. But let's just, what would you guys give the show as a whole, scale 1 to 10? You can start there first, Han.
1 to 10. I understand. I look at things very critically, and I think that's because of my experience in the industry. For me, I would rank this above Boba Fett, below Mandalorian. So in that respect, I would probably give it probably like a 4.5, somewhere around there. It's not to say it was all completely bad. Like I said, it was entertaining. I just think it could have been done a little bit better.
Yeah. What about you, Aiden? What would you give it?
It's kind of tough for me. Because I feel like for the most part, I thought the show was pretty good. It was just episodes like episode 4 that brought it down, and then some of the Reva scenes. But when it was good, I thought it was really good.
Right.
I could maybe give it like a 7.5, maybe an 8. But I do think it was better than Boba Fett, and I think it was worse than Mandalorian.
Right.
I'd give Boba Fett like a 6 or a 5, Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it is tough to rate this one. I'd probably go 6.5 or 7. I don't know if I'd go above a 7 for this one. And yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's for sure better than Book of Boba. I don't even know if it's better than the Mando episodes of Book of Boba, though. That's the thing, because those feel like their own show. But counting all of Book of Boba, if you want to count it all together, it's better than Book of Boba. But I think Mando has much more solid writing, like
for sure,
1,000 times more solid writing than this. Even though the highs in this show are probably things I wanted to see more than I would like to see in Mando. I thought the highs were really high, but the lows were super low in this show. So, anyway, our meeting time's wrapping up here. So anyway, thanks for coming on, Han. We love talking with you. We'll obviously keep bringing you on for Star Wars videos. We want to let everyone know what your channels are, check you out on.
Yeah, Han Talks First, everybody. I've been doing a lot less stuff, but I'm going to try and get back into it. Reach out to me on Instagram, TikTok, everything's at Han Talks First. And thank you guys for having me again. I'd love to have you on my show. I know I said that last time, but let's actually do it. I'll reach out to you on Instagram and let's book something.
That'd be awesome.
So we'll do it. Anyway, thanks for coming on. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and check out the rest of the channel.